The college football experience, Big Ten conference locks, and championship future episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. They just announced college football best ball, folks. Hop on over there. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, everybody, Jim McMahon here, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Big Ten win total locks and conference championship picks edition. Oh, it is that time, folks. YouTube.com/the college experience. We are giving out those locks, and yeah, I mean, we did it as a solo episode last year. All of our locks, we've been doing that. This year it changes. With all these gigantic conferences, we change it. We just dropped our SEC win total locks. Go listen to that episode and our conference championships picks and playoff picks there for the SEC. And now it comes to the Big Ten as we continue on this journey. The college football season kicks in about 18 days here, or 17 days. I can't count. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes, yes, yes. The locks are flowing off the shelves. You know I love late August. All right. Well, we're talking late August. We're talking games. It's early August, but I'm talking about late
Getting
August.
a little ahead of ourselves here, but
yeah,
it's coming.
By the time I get to August, everything's late August.
True.
I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C, in the place to be.
Hi-oh. Well,
let's get it going.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, that is a great thing about American sports. Whoever structured it just left the summer completely empty. Even the Olympics aren't going to put a dent in your need for sport. And so we do these previews. You're frothing at the mouth by the time August hits. And guess what? When the season hits, it's Christmas. It's Christmas in August.
It really is Christmas in August. And look, this guy's the DFS god himself. We are joined by third man in the booth. Give it up for rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, tobacco road living, a free lot giving, farmer, earn the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, guys?
Oh yeah.
Nailed the intro this time.
And you know, Patty C, I do like watching some beach volleyball in the Olympics. Okay, so come on.
I'm not saying it doesn't help a little bit, but it's not. You're not satiated. No, you're still dying for football.
I've been watching the U.S. women's national team. They're going for gold here coming up. Let's go.
There you go. Let me ask you this: if you were to play in the women's 3-on-3, being former, Herndon Basketball League MVP, do you think you could have helped them get gold? Because this bronze stuff, not liking that so much.
I mean, in my prime or currently?
I'm just waiting for how this transitions into Rich Gannon.
Right, exactly.
Go listen to the SEC preview for that callback joke.
That Haley Van Lith chick is pretty hot, so I'll take a bronze if I get to watch her.
For a basketball player.
Yeah, that's true. That's not very nice, but
I'm sorry, guys. I'm previewing 134 teams. You guys are watching the Olympics.
That's true.
I'm watching.
Colby has no time for this nonsense.
The second team of Kennesaw State.
Colby, who is Haley Von Lith? Is that a guard on Iowa?
Yeah, I thought that was a band in the 80s. Right? Van Halen, Von Lith. But what the fuck am I doing here? Oh, let's talk college football. It is time for our. I mean, really, this is it. This is where we get to talk shit at the end of the year. Our locks, our win total locks. Who's going to the playoffs? We got a 12-team playoff. I think it's the most interesting year in college football history, in my opinion. Well, I wasn't there when they started it, but you know what I mean. In my lifetime, folks, we're going to dive into that. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience is part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. The Sports Gambling Podcast just launched their 32-team NFL preview series, solo episode for every single team in the land. Even though we know the NFL's got that candy ass kickoff that they got to get rid of, you can still make some money in the NFL. All right. So watch that. They're doing 32 previews. Listen to that, whatever. And as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. Submit the 32 code word phrase at the end, and you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. All right, back talking Big Ten. What do you make of this 18-team bullshit? I love the Big Ten. Historically, when it was 10, good God, 18 teams.
Bit of a logjam.
Tiebreaker scenario, much like, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think this is a legit problem for all the conferences.
I think the best thing I saw, I think it was on Twitter. Someone showed like the conference standings with all these teams, and he says it looks like a Walgreens receipt. It just keeps going and going and going and going.
Like, I mean, we're really gonna, in some of these conferences, maybe it's not the Big Ten because I think the Big Ten's a little more, a little more predictable than the other conferences, but some of them, it's going to get down to like the true technicalities of this of these tiebreakers. It's going to be like, did you win on the road on a Thursday? You know what I mean? Like, we're due for a wacky college football season with this 12-team playoff.
When are they going to solve and release these tiebreakers? I feel like this is a pretty important thing to focus on.
They moved the goalpost too. Remember they put Ohio State in the playoffs after like 5 games in COVID.
Sure. I mean, that's a different kind of tiebreaker that we won't see, assuming everyone's playing somewhat the same amount of games.
No, but the Big Ten was like, yeah, sure.
Sure, they're the champs. Yeah. Look,
but no, building on that point, Colby, sorry to cut you off, Patty, about the conference championship game and what's going to happen there. I think on top of that is that now there's going to be so much more teams in the mix for the college football playoff spots. I mean, really, in the past few years when there's been 4 teams in the playoff, maybe only 1 or 2 other teams had like a legitimate gripe that they belong to be in that 4. When there's 12, you're going to have anywhere from at least 5 or 6 teams, maybe even more, that have a legitimate argument of why they should be in that instead of somebody else. So that's going to be very interesting to see.
You say when there's 12 or when there's...
Well, there's a 12-team playoff.
Oh, 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that 12 team that at large that gets in is going to probably be 10-2 or 9-3, as are other teams across the country that have the same record, and that's really going to be interesting to see what happens.
Colby and I looked at this recently, and
but this is when they're not in those conferences.
That's true. This is just as of last year, but there was Penn State 3 loss. Last year was probably one of the easier ones to sort out. I think it would have been Iowa with 10-4 might have been a question mark, but yeah, there's going to be a bigger bubble there with a lot more teams right on the.
There's
the
more
fringe.
carnage because they're all playing.
And then you have the question. Okay, 10-3 Penn State, for instance, last year would have been on the bubble. 10-4 Iowa plays in the Big Ten championship and takes the loss. Does that hurt them? Does that knock them off the bubble?
Yeah.
There's so much to this. I mean, obviously the fact that this playoff was concocted with 5 power conferences. They didn't think this out. someone, I feel like a lot of people on social media were talking about the 5 spot. Like if you were to do a mock of what it would be, the 5 seed would be getting the group of 5, right? So like if you use the preseason rankings, they'd be playing
Liberty,
Memphis would be playing at Oregon.
Okay.
And then the winner of that would get the Big 12 champ, right? So that's an easier path than the 2, 3, or 4 seed. So the 5 is almost more important than the 2, 3, and 4,
or the 1, 2, and 3, or
maybe even the 1. Even the 1. Like this model was built off of college football 2017.
Yeah.
And they had to put that square peg in a round hole and just make it work.
It's so stupid. I mean, I love the 12-team playoff, but I think it's hilarious that they built this and then they're like, let's destroy the whole fucking sport. TV execs are like, yes, we have a 12-team playoff coming. Let's take a 120-year-old conference and detonate it, right? and then everyone else, ACC reacts and is like, okay, I need. So it's just it's going to be hilarious to watch.
Clusterfuck.
Yeah,
especially for year 1 where there's no precedent. Yeah. We don't know what to expect.
And with that, let's 18 teams in a conference is absolutely insane. So the question is, we've said this for, if you've listened to our 134 team preview series where we break down every team, and I tend to think, in most conferences you're looking for the easiest schedule, not the best team, but this would be the one conference where I still think there's a gigantic gap. I've long said the Big Ten has a lot of shit to it. You know what I mean? I did my Jurassic Park. Yeah. Well, not even at the bottom, even in like the mid-level, like where there's just a big gap. You don't have this big of a gap in the other conferences to me, where
Northwestern finished second in the Big Ten West last year. That should tell you.
Yeah.
You need to know.
And like compare their talent to Ohio State, who finished second in the East.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you see it in the spread. I mean, there was recently an article done by Tom Fornelli that was a really good article, I thought, on CBS Sports on the most blowouts. Guess what? The most blowouts, the conference with the least amount of blowouts was the Big 12, followed by the ACC over the past
conference
10 years.
Games only.
Yes, conference games only. But number 1 by far, no one was even close to it, was the Big Ten, and that's because the gap that we're referring to. Why is it so easily predictable that it's going to be Ohio State?
And it's been like this for like 100+ years.
So it's hilarious though that it has this clout when it has, like, to me, it's like, I don't know why Rutgers gets to be a part of the party.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But
right time, right place.
Yeah, or Purdue. Like, why should they be part of the party? Well, Washington State and Oregon State are on the outside of it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Why should Vanderbilt? Why should across the board?
Yeah, but there's only one in the SEC.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like what I'm saying. Like the Big Ten, you look at, you're like, I don't know why Illinois is a part of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Illinois has no reason that they shouldn't be part of the party, but they find a way to not deserve to be part of it all the time. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right, but I will say that the new teams being added at least put a little bit of a question mark at the top. Oregon.
Well, UCLA is located in Los Angeles.
Yeah, thank you, like Deshaun USC. Foster, for.
You might not be familiar with us. Yeah, Deshaun though did a great thing, and he wore the T-shirt. He owned it. So many people make stupid fucking mistakes, and they just don't lean into it.
He might have just been thrown to the wolves without knowing.
No,
what was
that's
coming.
not on him. That's on the administration.
Yeah,
they got to know this guy's a former player that is not used to talking into mics. All right.
Prep this guy.
They should have prepped him 20 times in the conference room over the past 24 hours.
Yeah,
but you're right. You're right though. Own it, Colby. I mean, do the Anthony Davis. You got a unibrow rocket. Don't shave it.
Well, I meant own it as far as we all make mistakes. You got to laugh at yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never made a mistake in my life though when it comes to win totals, and that's what we're talking about here. But before we do that, I want to tell you that actually Nebraska overs every year under Scott Frost. But I want to tell you the College Football Experience Big Ten Edition is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick-em entries, and then we're going streaking. All right, bring your green hat. Look, if you can get on an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. They just added another college football contest for Best Ball as well. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries, NC Nick and Moneyline Mac just did a best ball draft as an episode. You can listen to it youtube.com/The College Experience or The College Experience, wherever podcasts can be found. So jump on over to Underdog Fantasy, sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Yes, Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. All right, and look, they got more than MLB. If you're planning to catch great college football action in the Big Ten at some of the best stadiums in really all of college football, check out the Stadium Heads for a bigger dive on that. But the Stadium Heads podcast. But yeah, look, Wrigley is hosting college football games a few times. If you plan to go to Wrigley, which has such a deep history in football, a lot of people don't realize that. You know, or if you plan to go to Memorial Stadium there in Lincoln, Nebraska, or in Champaign, Illinois, or wherever, they're going to pull out that Game Time app. All right, pull it up. You're going to have it. All right, just type it into the search engine. You will get it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. We are back and firing away. Who wants to start first? Because I got ones. I don't know about you guys, but I got.
Well, it sounds like you have the most. So why don't you do the honors and start?
Well, I'll put it like this. I have two fringe that I can be talked into. But I have 8 then if I'm talked into those two.
It's a lot.
Very confident.
I feel great about this conference. I feel better about this than the SEC.
Fire away. Let me hear it.
Well, number one, you know me, I'm an Iowa man. Chad was already talking about it.
This is Fringe?
No, this is
okay.
The Fringe is what. Yeah, this is the one that like I feel great about. I actually think. I think this is what, and I'm hoping, in a way, but I think this is like one of the more complete teams in the nation. If Leicester, I think Leicester is a good hire, and I think they'll move the ball much better than they will than they did under Brian Ferentz. And I know you're going to say, "Well, I sure hope so. You can't get worse." But still, they're one of the only teams in the nation that has a quarterback that has started a playoff game. All right, you mix that with what's that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
You mix that with the fact that they were injured last year. Getting Luke Lachey back, and both those tight ends are fire. I think they're two of the better tight ends in the conference, let alone college football. And you mix that with the receiving core that I think is going to be a lot better, just because the creativity is going to be a lot better. And then 7 super seniors on this team. The defense is maybe the best defense ever under Kirk Ferentz. Could happen this year when you look at it on paper. The special teams is always top notch. And then you get to the schedule, where I only have them in dogs in one game, and that's at Ohio State. And to be honest with you, I think if you're an Iowa fan, this is going to sound weird. I think you want to lose to Ohio State. Jesus.
Definitely not Iowa State.
Yeah, definitely not Iowa State. Ohio State is where you want to lose, because then you would lose out on the tiebreaker. And as I alluded to, the 5 seed might make more sense than you'd be hosting a playoff game against, somebody. It might make a little more sense than to get in and potentially, get blown out in that filthy Lucas Oil Stadium that they should detonate.
Get kicked down to a road spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I really think this team now, maybe Iowa, they play so many close games historically, maybe they lose another one, but still 10-2 in the Big Ten is going to get you home. I love the over here, and I like their odds to make the playoffs too. I mean, I've been giving it away on VSiN all summer. So
what's the playoff
currently
number?
plus 600? I saw today on DK.
Yeah,
it's decent.
I just think this team with Tim Lester, I think it was a better get than people think at the offense coordinator spot. And then when you mix that with Ferentz,
they went 10-2 last year.
Yeah,
with no offense.
Let me get this straight. Their win total is. What is it? We had 7.5, but it's only plus.
Actually, well, it's up to 8 now.
It's up to 8. Okay.
Yeah. So there's been some movement, but the juice has gone down.
Even still.
Who the fuck are they losing to?
Yeah, exactly. But
so this is a triple lock, right? Play the
but
music.
so plus 600 to make the college football playoff with the 8-game win total. Vegas is doing something wrong over there. I don't quite understand it.
Spinal.
We have a triple lock. Patty C, you're on it?
Yes, of course.
Triple lock on the Iowa Hawkeyes over 8 wins.
How much of this is dependent on Cade McNamara's health?
No, because I actually liked. They went out and got the guy who started at Northwestern last year. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. So
they still went 10-2 last year without McNamara. Well, I mean, they had him for a couple games, but
it's true. So, and this schedule's probably even better.
I think so. Like, dude, I mean, okay, you got to worry about the Iowa State game because those games are always weird. But other than that. Okay, at Minnesota, but like they've had Minnesota's number in Minneapolis or in general, even last season.
They're a better squad, although it's a game you need to worry about a little bit. Yeah.
They get a bye before Ohio State, but they count that as a loss. And then Michigan State, I think, is in a rebuild. I think UCLA is in a rebuild. At Maryland, they normally beat the shit out of Maryland. Have you caught the scores of the Maryland games?
I mean, the coaching battle is so one-sided in that.
One of the only times Iowa scores 50 is when they play Maryland sometimes.
I would say most of these games they're 7-point favorites in, which might as well be, 20-point favorites for a normal team.
There's no Michigan on the schedule. There's no Oregon on the schedule. There's no Penn State on the schedule. There's no USC on the schedule. Just at Ohio State. Okay. Right. And I feel like you're playing with house money in that situation because it's like, there'll be 17-point dogs. Okay, go out and play loose because who cares? Because like even if you lose that game, you take care of the business in the other games. Which, like I said, I kind of just think they're more. Not only are they more talented, then they're older than every team they play. They are the oldest team on their schedule with every single team they play.
You know the other thing about that Ohio State game? Ohio State's got a road trip to Oregon the following week.
So it's a look ahead spot. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, this is going to be a reoccurring theme through this show, but I look at the top 6 teams in the Big Ten with the best odds to win it. And Iowa's one of those 6 teams, so obviously they can't play themselves. So for them, it's top 5. They only play one team in that top 5. Colby mentioned it, Ohio State on the road. You know what? It's even better to have that on the road and just lose it. It's
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah. Just lose it.
Not other than that, game on that one.
I do think that their schedule last year was pretty nice too because they didn't play Ohio State or Michigan in the regular season. So really, they're one they
had to go
game.
2 Ames though.
Yeah, true, and also they had to go at Penn State. They won at Ames, they lost at Penn State, and then they lost that fluky game to Minnesota where I guess they should have won, but they also played like shit. So maybe you shouldn't feel too bad, But this team is going to be better than last year, and the schedule is equally soft. So I just don't see how, you're only looking at the, 8 as a bar.
Yeah. Is McNamara when healthy? What were his stats? I have to go back and look and see.
Well, it was Brian Ferentz though. Like I like to, Patty C. Remember when Pitt won the ACC championship? 2 years ago with Kenny Pickett?
Yeah.
That Pitt team that won the ACC championship lost to Tim Lester's Western Michigan team, and Western Michigan put up like 49 or something, 47 or I forget what it was, but it was a great offensive performance against a very good defense that year.
Lester had some decent years at
well, especially with
Michigan.
offense. Like I think the offense he's a good offensive coordinator. I think like
37 and 32 at Western Michigan. 67 and 55 overall. He's a winning coach, and if you can win on offense, basically, and bring that to Iowa, then that's a vast improvement.
So I actually love this team moving forward too. Like, if it maps out the way that I see it, where they can make the playoff, and I think they will make the playoff. I'm hoping that they host a game. We'll see, but if they're hosting a game, I think that means they're winning a game.
Because I'm almost.
I'm
almost happy that it's gone up to 8, because it was at over 7.5 and it was at minus 150. So now it's gone to 8 and I see minus 135. I think they're going to win 9 or 10 games. So regardless, give me less juice. So I'm okay with it going up to 8. I guess, there's some like safety valve that you're not getting anymore. But I'm actually happy that the lines move. So it tells you that a lot of, money is coming in on the over, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I love it too. I really think, and I think this is like Ferentz's best team in a while. Like,
is McNamara the best quarterback they've had while he's been there? I mean,
no, Brad Banks back in the day.
That was like
Drew Tate.
15 years.
Yeah,
Tate was pretty damn good. Yeah.
But I will say this: they're deeper because bringing in that kid from Northwestern, he wasn't horrible at Northwestern. He better than what they had, better than Deacon Hill. So they've even improved the backup quarterback too. Gonna talk more on Big Ten win totals and locks, but I want to tell you that the college football experience Big Ten locks episode is brought to you by Rhythm. Football season is here, and college football and NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model, or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide what stats matter most to you, and Rhythm builds a custom model around that. Or just let Rhythm and its predictive model do all the heavy lifting for you. Rhythm uses AI projections from MIT data scientists. Rhythm already has you covered for NFL Week 1 and College Football Week 0. One that I love, and I'm curious your guys' take on this. Georgia Tech plus 13 in Dublin, Ireland against Florida State.
Give me the points all day. Maybe a little sprinkle.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's worth it. Patty?
I'm leaning toward it. Yeah, I think it's just a few too many points there.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell me on the Ramblin' Wreck.
There you go. There you go. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. If you don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas before football season, may I recommend the Ultimate Contest Weekend. It is a great time to go out. You can hang with my pals, Sean Stagger, the Money Green, and Ryan Real Money Kramer, and CJ Sullivan, the bet detective from the Sports Gambling Podcast, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. Also, if you're trying to stay there, use the promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room for that weekend. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th, and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy there. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. All right, we are back talking Big Ten locks. So I gave away my Iowa Hawkeyes thing. You guys want to add anything more to Iowa? I think we pretty much summed them up, right?
Yeah. Move on to the next.
See if there's anything else that's no. I mean, yeah. I think Ohio State's the only real challenge on that schedule. And the number of 50-50 games. In fact, I think they're slight favorites in every other game. And they're the type of team that just doesn't lose those games. So
yeah. Nothing like a good 13-12. You know they're going to have better special teams than every goddamn team on the schedule.
Yeah.
All right. That includes you, Ohio State, too. So Patty C, NC Nick, fire away with the lock. I gave you my Iowa one. You guys came in.
Nick, you got a few more than me, so why don't you fire?
Okay. Well, I know Colby's high on this. I'm not sure about Patty, but I think Patty calls him the Golden Guido. Rutgers over 6. Now the juice has moved up. A few weeks ago it was at -115. Now it's at -140. Again, this is one where I wouldn't mind if it went up to 6.5 and bring the juice down, because schedule. It's all about schedule. And with that and returning production, Rutgers brings back 72% of last year's production, 13th best in the country. They were 6-6 last year with awful quarterback play from Gavin Wimsatt. And last year,
and the Big Ten East.
Last year they were in the Big Ten East, where they played Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and they also played at Iowa and at Wisconsin. So they even get the teams from the West, and they didn't them no favors whatsoever.
No favors.
I mentioned it before. Of the top 6 teams with the best odds to win the conference, Rutgers plays one of them. Only one of them. This is unfair, and that's at USC.
And this was a team with the 16th best defense in the nation last year, and they returned a bunch on that defensive side of the ball. I love this play. I'm locking it with you. And the logic is that schedule is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's so unfair and unbalanced compared to other teams. Like, I don't know if there's a solution to this moving forward. It's not just the Big Ten. I mean, we see this everywhere. if
ACC,
it's just
yeah.
it is what it is. But I mean,
Well, this is what happens when you do. There's a reason when college football was concocted, they're like, hey, let's do 8 to 10 team conferences. Well, why don't we do more? Oh, because some years some teams are only going to play. Like this is to compare this to certain teams within their own conference. It's insane the differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the hardest game on their entire schedule is one road trip to USC, which is probably a loss.
Sure.
Okay. And then other than that, what is it?
And even with the USC one, like we think it's a loss, but like I can tell you this, Rutgers' toughness is a threat to USC. The USC's run defense was horrible last year.
Win.
Yeah. So I mean, this schedule is incredible.
But call that a loss. And then what's the next hardest game? At Nebraska?
Yeah, they won 5 games last year. I mean, last year they
lost
hosted
every close game they ever played.
Last year they hosted Virginia Tech. This year they're at Virginia Tech, which is tough. But
that's hard.
But they averaged 7.4 yards a rush.
They whooped Virginia Tech by like 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
But still, that is a hard venue. But it's like, you're still playing. The win total is 6.5.
Yeah.
Who cares?
No, it's 6.
Like, 6. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like where I'm trying to build like the worst case scenario here. I'm like, okay.
Let me push back a little bit, because when you look at, we talked about their losses last year, which were all against pretty hard teams for the most part, the Maryland game being the exception, but the wins weren't that impressive. I mean, Northwestern turned out to be actually a decent team, but then Temple, actually Tech, that's it. But other than that, Wagner, a close win against Michigan State. They did handle Indiana by 17. You're probably right. And then beating Miami in the bowl game, who everyone's like is saying is going to be a playoff team.
you got them in the ACC championship.
Well, yeah, it's true.
They get Washington in September, which is big. With a brand new coach,
huge.
brand new quarterback.
Like I guarantee they win that game. I will guarantee that they win.
Yeah,
that game.
you get UCLA coming cross country into Jersey.
Like, sure, you worry about the Nebraska-Wisconsin games, but even if they lose those, like,
now what's the quarterback situation again? This year?
Kalimanakis or whatever is coming.
The Greek Rifle.
Yeah.
Greek Rifle is not exactly Joe Montana.
He's a better thrower than Wimsatt, though, so the offense could open up a little bit.
Probably doesn't have the same wheels, although I think he does have okay wheels.
Not the wheels as Wimsatt, but Colby made this point when we did the Rutgers preview, is that they hired the OC who was with the Greek Rifle at Minnesota. So
not last year though. The year before. Yeah.
Right.
When they were really high on him, because he got a ton of hype.
And I agree, he was shit last year. The whole Minnesota offense was shit. The whole Big Ten West offense was shit. But I guess there's a reason why that coordinator was still wanted to bring him in, to Rutgers. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but I mean, even if the offense sucks like last year, they're still gonna.
It's almost like an Iowa situation where you have a top 20 defense.
Yeah.
And look at these quarterbacks you're playing, by the way. I mean, where's the fear? I mean, Dylan Raiola is a freshman, but he's supposed to be a stud. But I'm saying he's a freshman going up against a top 20 defense. Tyler Van Dyne's not so fast, right? Miller Moss, that's the game. Okay.
Or drones, maybe.
There's no good. I mean, Aiden Childs, I think, will be good, but I don't know. They just like Maryland loses Tua, so like all these games are winnable. Like they dude, it's not ridiculous to say. It is ridiculous to say naturally that Rutgers could go 10-2 or 11-1, but I see a path. I like. Why should?
And the fact that the Golden Guido has done this before.
Yeah.
He's building this program. It was going to take time at Rutgers. Maybe this is the year they take the step forward. The schedule being a lot easier suggests that's a possibility. Maybe Greg Schiano finally becomes what they want.
I'm trying to build more than 6 losses, right? And I'm like, okay, let's say they lose to Virginia Tech at Lane. Let's say Nebraska gets them in Memorial. Although I feel like Rutgers should be favored probably in that game, but at USC a 3rd loss. Maybe you say Wisconsin gets them 4, Minnesota 5, Maryland 6, but that's losing every 50-50 game you can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they just win one game, if you're watching the Virginia Tech game week 3 and they win that, I think you've cashed.
Oh, that's a huge game. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying any of those, like the Nebraska or Wisconsin game, if they go 1-1 in that stretch, I think you've cashed. So
They just need a little bit of offense. Because the defense is going to be there.
This is the same conversation with Iowa. It's Iowa light. You know, I mean, they're definitely not on the same.
It's like Iowa 10 years ago.
But dude, they were the 16th ranked defense, getting Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. They're going to be top 10 this year because they're not playing any of those.
And a little bit of offense will help the defense a whole lot too.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, especially by not playing those juggernauts, your offense might finally get going, take some pressure off the defense. Yeah, maybe Rutgers is a top 5-10 defense this year.
You coming with us on this lock or no?
I am coming with you.
Oh, there we go. Triple lock.
Right.
Let's go.
It's a goddamn echo chamber in here.
You know, that is the thing that
they're counting down 7-6.
It's a popular pick. It is a popular pick. Kirk Herbstreit already put it out there. So
triple lock with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Still, it looks right.
Can you imagine Rutgers in the 12-team playoff? Let's talk about that. Hold on, before we switch. I think 9-3 is a real possibility. If you're 9-3 in the Big Ten, you might be you could be in.
9-3. Oh yeah, they'll be one of the bubble teams, but I feel like they'll get left out. This is where the schedule will be a difference maker.
What if they go 10-2? Then you can't leave them out.
They'll be in if they're 10-2.
Yeah, and I don't think we have odds for that.
Yeah,
we looked, and most years it's like 1 or 2 9-3 teams like on that bubble for the 11th spot, assuming that the group of 5 team gets the 12th spot. Yeah. So some years though, there was one year in the past like 8 years that we looked at that was like all the way down to number 14 were 10-win teams. So there's a chance you can go 10-2 and get bumped out. But
yeah, I agree.
It's pretty low.
That would
pretty
be
low.
fucking absurd. But I can tell you this, to make, especially in the Big Ten, you feel like they would do that to. I mean,
ACC or something. Yeah.
I'm trying to quickly. Oh, they're not. I know why they're not, because it's Jersey. I'm using. Okay. Yeah. I don't have that prepared, but the odds, I've talked about it before on a show. I just can't remember it. Yeah. Take them to make the playoffs. All right. It's not that crazy. Especially if you're a Rutgers fan, sprinkle a little bit on that. Patty C, what do you got lock-wise?
Well, I already made a video about it, so anyone watching would already know this. And call it a little homer bias, even though I don't like them as a team. But it is USC and the over on 7 wins.
By the way, Easy says Rutgers is plus 1,800 to make the playoffs. It's worth it.
I'm not going to go that far. Rutgers ain't making the playoffs, but they're going to hit the over.
Yeah, USC over 7 wins. This is one of my locks too. So I think we're
triple lock it again,
we're
guys.
Agreeing too much, man. We're all fucked. Okay.
I mean, some stuff just looks pretty obvious.
Yeah,
right?
USC over 7 wins,
and you can just see it. It's the same thing again. When something happens the previous year that isn't in line with necessarily what the history or recent history with that team has been, and it's just a one-off 1 year anomaly, the public only remembers that 1 year, and Vegas might even just be playing the public, whatever it is, but they tend to fade that team too.
It's like an overreaction.
Yeah, it's an overreaction.
D'Anton Lynn coming in from UCLA. He took UCLA's defense from like 80 to like 30 or 20 or whatever the fuck it was last season. It was good last season. And then it might even been top 10 the more I think about it. And to me, like the great question when we did the team preview for USC, go listen to it. Me and Patty C were like, dude, Lincoln Riley's offense is going to score. Even against the best defenses, it will score.
Yeah.
So then it puts a lot of pressure on these horrible offenses in the Big Ten, because you're like, man, how many of these games, like if you watch USC, like you go up 14 against Minnesota or whoever, like is the game over?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you might be up 14 in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Going into shootout mode in the Pac-12, you're not really at an advantage when you decide you're going to go. The theme of your team is to go into shootout mode. Yeah. When USC was at their best when they were playing good defense and complement it with a good offense. Now recently they've abandoned defense and just tried to shoot out with the Pac-12 teams, and that's what has happened. And they've lost more of those than they should. In the Big Ten, going into shootout mode is a great way to win.
Like let's hypothetically, if they go up 14-0 on like Minnesota, Rutgers, or Nebraska, those games are over.
Well, yeah. I think this conversation is basically the inverse of the one we just had with Iowa and Rutgers. It's just like if UC can get a little bit of defense, they're going to be much better than last year. or at least the same, which would be a push. I mean, Lincoln Riley has never not won at least 7 regular season games. Last year, and that whole debacle was his worst season. They still went 7-5. And as good as Caleb Williams was, that whole saga, that drama with, should he play, should he not, all that stuff, him crying on the bench. I just think everybody's done with that. And now they're in a better spot where they can just focus on football, not an individual. And I think they're going to play better football this year. And I mean, the schedule's not easy though, but I think, go ahead.
I think last year's schedule was way harder.
Yeah, I mean,
the
Pac-12 was really good last year. I would say, they're hard games. They have out of conference. They play LSU and Notre Dame. Speaking of not fair schedules, compare that to Ohio State's out of conference schedule or Michigan's the last couple of years. But so you have LSU, Notre Dame, and you got Michigan and Penn State. You got 4 really tough games. They could lose all those and still hit the over. And chances
they got
are
no cold games too. Shout out to 20 MC.
Exactly. Yeah. Good point. Chances are they win at least one of those 4 hard games.
They only failed to get to over 20 points twice. They got to 20 points twice. They lost both of the games.
Good luck, Big Ten.
They got their asses kicked. But the rest of the season, they hit over 30 on every single game. Over 32 or over for 13 or 11 out of their 13 games. This offense will not be stopped. That does beg the question, though. Notre Dame held them to 20. The Rutgers probably has a similar defense to Notre Dame. How many teams on their schedule this year have a defense, the quality?
But Rutgers doesn't have the offense to move the ball. Notre Dame has the offense to move the ball. And
right. Well, that's why Notre Dame blew them out by 4 touchdowns.
That's why I'm saying the Big Ten don't have those offenses to move the ball. You're going to give the ball put right back to Lincoln Riley, and law of averages says he's going to fucking score.
That's true. You're not going to get punished as bad. But assuming that they are able to put that USC offense in check a little bit, because the Big Ten does have better defenses, will they be able to score enough to make those games close? Like, who do we think could potentially hang with USC this year?
It's score-wise, Penn State. When the Penn State game on October 12th is one where I'm like, okay.
Could Wisconsin potentially hang with them? No.
I mean, maybe, but tend to think no.
I feel better if it was at Wisconsin, but in Los Angeles.
But I'll tell you this: that Minnesota, Maryland, Rutgers, Nebraska games, I'm like, I think USC should be.
Yeah, even the road trip to Washington, they should probably win that. I think the only games that are the real threats are LSU in the opener, the road trip to Michigan in mid or late September, and then the end of the season against Notre Dame.
Penn State.
Oh yeah, Penn State.
Yeah.
So
those are the 4 tough games I identified.
If they lose all 4, then
you still hit.
You still hit the over.
You could still hit, and chances are they're going to win at least one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of them are at home, one's at a neutral site, and only one's on the road.
Lock it up.
And I also don't think it's crazy to think I was looking at this the other day. I just don't remember any of these numbers. The odds, so they're plus 400 to make the playoffs. It's not crazy to think that USC's got so much, the name, and to plus TV execs are going to want USC in if they're in contention. If they're 9-3,
only Western team, I guess Oregon will be, but still California.
Yeah,
they want a California.
I'm
team.
saying, imagine they're 9-3, and you're up against it with Missouri or something. They're putting USC in.
Yeah,
we know this game. We know this game.
Tie goes to USC.
The whole history of college football will tell us this.
I think you have to think they're a legitimate chance for the Big Ten championship too, because what if they lose to LSU and Notre Dame? Obviously, that doesn't. Yeah, who cares? So, say they split at Michigan and home versus Penn State,
which maybe seems likely.
Yeah,
maybe they win the rest of them, or maybe they even only drop one more and have 2 conference losses.
I actually like that a lot for them to get there, and then them in a dome too. It's Lucas Oil.
Yeah,
imagine they're playing Iowa. Oh man,
that'd be a great. That would be a fun game right there.
The over's a smash play, triple lock again, lock unity, whatever you want to say. NC Nick, it bounces back to you. What do you got left?
Well, this is the last of my locks here, and someone on the chat mentioned, I think it was 20 MC20. I like Wisconsin under 7. Currently at minus 135. That juice has gone up recently, so another kind of a trendy play. It was at minus 15 a few weeks ago. Let me go back to the top 6 teams would have the best odds of winning the Big Ten. I mentioned Rutgers only plays 1 of them. Wisconsin plays 4 of them. Wisconsin has to play USC, Penn State, Iowa, and Oregon, and Alabama in the non-con. Plus, they have. Go ahead.
Well, and they also play. They're running the air raid at that stadium at Northwestern with the like right on the lake.
Kind of what I was going to say is that's
just going to fly into the lake.
On top of all that shit, they have tricky road trips at Rutgers, at Northwestern, and at Nebraska. This is a very tough schedule. I think maybe Wisconsin and Michigan State had the toughest in-conference schedules for Big Ten schools.
This was my fringe one. I'll join. This was my fringe one.
Before I get close to joining you guys, because I agree with you, I'm taking the under, but I want to make sure of it. Let's paint a rosy picture for Wisconsin. What could get them to? It's 7 flat is the number.
Yeah.
What could get them to 8?
Well, they'd have to pull an upset against one of the big schools, which they have to make sure they win those road games. That back-to-back road at Rutgers, at Northwestern, they got to win that. They got to win that because to me, you're searching for 8. Western Michigan, South Dakota, that's 2, right? After that, I actually think every game's Purdue. I'll give them Purdue.
Let's say Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern. This is Wisconsin we're talking about. Let's say they step back anywhere close to where they were before they took a step down here.
But they've never ran the fucking air raid before.
Yeah, but it's only year 2. Maybe they recover, but it's not their wheelhouse. But let's put them at 5-2 after the Northwestern game. Then they're hosting Penn State.
I favor Penn State.
I can't see them getting both Penn State and Iowa, so let's be favorable and give them 6-3. Then they're going to lose to Oregon 6-4, and then they could win those last 2 and get them to 8-4.
But I don't think they're better than those.
That's being
teams.
very generous.
To me, like Wisconsin and Minnesota, I actually think I like Minnesota's starting roster better than Wisconsin's.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if you look at like the last 7 games, first off, there's only 2 for sure wins. That's Western Michigan, South Dakota.
Maybe Purdue. They've owned Purdue for so long.
Okay.
Let's do 3. Yeah.
Okay, 3. But like the last 6 or 7 games, like at Rutgers, at Northwestern, Penn State, at Iowa, Oregon, at Nebraska. That's a gauntlet, man.
Yeah,
you sold me. I'm in. I mean, it was one of my fringe. I had it as a fringe. I could be talked into it, and I'll join it.
I think best case scenario they go 7-5. And what did they go last year? Was it 7-5 or was it 6-6?
7-5, I think.
Yeah. So best case scenario, they tie their same records last year and you push. But this team is not winning 8 games.
Quarterback situation at
Van Dimes.
Van Dimes. So that's not necessarily gonna make things great. Yeah, I kind of want to agree with you. I don't want to just go lock with you guys, but I will.
Well, yeah, join it because I mean another thing is like what will the health of the team be? You back-to-back games. Now, obviously there's bye weeks here, but I'm just talking about you play Alabama and USC back-to-back, right? Not there's a bye week there, but I'm just saying like those are 2 games in a row. And then you have a 3-game stretch where you have Penn State, Iowa, and Oregon. What's the team going to look like when they head into Lincoln, Nebraska? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially in late November, it's not an easy place for an air raid to just fucking let loose.
Yeah. So that is now it's turned into a magical triple lock in Madison, Wisconsin.
Are we going to disagree on this show at any point?
I got a disagreement for you, although I doubt it'll result in a lock on either side. But I do think I have a disagreement with you, and I'm curious what you say because I already know what you think, Nick. I'm gonna call Michigan on the over. Nick, I know you got them on the under. Colby,
as a lock?
Not as a lock.
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean,
what is your lean on? Michigan?
I think I leaned under on the show, but I didn't have a lot of conviction with that.
Where are we at now? Is it 9.5? Is that where it's at?
Did it move since we did the preview on like July 1st?
Well, so if it's 9.5, then no, I'm not going over. It's 9 on our sheet here.
Oh, it's probably still at 9 then. No, still at 9. Yeah, and it's juiced to the under. No, I certainly don't love it. I think Michigan's in that 8-4, 9-3 range, so I'm not touching that.
I mean, I just think you're hosting Texas. If you come away with that, there's really only 3 super dangerous games on Michigan's schedule. Texas.
Wait, what about USC?
Oh yeah,
Texas, USC, Oregon.
kind of, but I don't
Ohio
really
State.
consider USC a threat to Michigan.
Yeah.
Not really, and not in Ann Arbor. After last year, I think Michigan, even with everyone leaving, I think they'll just bang on USC. But Texas, Oregon, both coming to Ann Arbor, and then the road trip to Ohio State. We're assuming that Ohio State's finally going to get the better of them.
I might have went over on the show. I have to go back and listen to it. I know I didn't bet this because I didn't feel great about it. But
You mentioned the Oregon game too, right? But I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So all three of those games are at home: the Texas, USC, Oregon. But I guess the question is, I had them first.
Can
I
they
had them
win one of them?
I had them losing to Ohio State also. So
wait,
if
but
they-
you're locking this?
No,
Oh,
I'm
so
just
you're
saying.
stating this. Okay.
We're just looking for a disagreement because
Okay.
I think
Okay.
we're all seeing it a lot of the same way on a lot of the locks.
Well, I got a bunch of more locks though.
fire,
You know.
Go for
fire
it.
away.
Let me just make sure this line has Washington moved. I am on Washington on the under. I believe it's 6. Last I saw.
6.5.
Is it 6.5 now?
On the sheet it is. Take a look.
No. That sheet is outdated.
It's old.
That's still 6.5.
Cash.
Minus
Uh,
115. Not that much juice either.
This is I'm surprised this is not lock
We're
unity.
talking about a team that was 14-1 last year. I know a
There's
lot
like 2 players on the
has
team.
changed, but
Does
still,
not count to say that they're
I'm just not that confident that they're just going to become the worst team in college football overnight.
the
Yeah.
worst. They're just they're last year's TCU.
That was a humongous.
But TCU brought back way more than Washington did.
I understand that, but Washington was a good ass team last year, and maybe there's
TCU had the same
Some-
coach. Washington's breaking in a brand new head coach.
that's true.
They have no one on their offensive
TCU
line.
also won a bunch. I guess Washington won a bunch of close games too.
Yeah,
Last year.
their whole season was close games.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
very
dude.
comparable.
This
This
team's not getting a 7. Like,
dude. There's
even
no
i-
way.
Even if you give them Washington State and they start off 4-0,
Which I have them losing that game.
yeah. Even if you give them that, I think they drop their next 3. Maybe you give them Indiana, that's a 4th, and then UCLA is a 5th.
Maybe give them Indiana. They were in the national championship last year.
You're too TMZ here, dude.
No, this is not
That's-
TMZ. You guys are too
but you haven't
hipster
you
here.
haven't dove into this. They didn't have enough offensive linemen. They're calling up Idaho State trying to get guys. This team is a nightmare right now. This team is going to suck this year. They're
Okay.
going to suck. I think there's potential for a 3-win season.
Okay, I guess we reviewed this before a little bit. There's not a long enough history to see like multiple times of this happening. I don't think the Cincinnati moving to the Big 12 is an example because
Well, but from a
they
coaching
lost their
standpoint,
coach
yes.
and they moved to conference. That's
Well,
I guess
that's
what
Washington is
but
doing
they're
exactly
moving
that.
to a that's true. Washington's moving to a kind of an easier setup. Although
But
again,
not on the trenches where they're getting hit the hardest,
the
dude.
schedule. What are the super hard teams on the schedule? Michigan, Iowa. I guess USC probably counts. Penn State and Oregon. Yeah, you're probably
It's
right.
a lot. Yeah, Colby, you sold me.
lot.
Sign me up. Sign me up. Also, give me another
This is-
under.
yes, dude. I actually think. I'll be honest. I think Eastern Michigan could beat them week 2. They're in that bad a shape to me.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
flip side of that. We just identified 5 what are very likely to be losses based on what Washington lost. But Weber State, Eastern Michigan, assuming Wazoo is a 50-50 game that they could win.
Wazoo
might
almost
be-
beat them last year, and they're in the national
This is in
championship.
Seattle, though.
Last year was in Seattle
Okay, and Washington won. All right.
by a last-second field
Okay,
goal.
all right.
Yeah.
Bear with me and allow me to speculate that they could beat Wazoo. It's not out of the realm of possibilities here.
Right. I was being generous in giving them a 4-0 start.
Okay, 4-0. Rutgers, please. Again, Washington was in the national champ. I don't care if you think it's a TMZ take. Washington was so much better of a team than Rutgers
But
last
no
year.
one is on. That's why it's unfair to say last year. Literally no one is on this roster.
Even
from
on the
last
2
year.
deep.
It's literally like 2% of their roster from last year, dude.
Hmm.
It's not comparable to say that.
It's
Yeah.
massive speculation, but I think you guys may be right about it. I think I'm not confident
They
enough
have
in
one
it.
returning starter on their whole fucking team, dude.
I'm
Yeah,
not
if you wanna look
confident in
at
enough to call it a lock.
Returning production is 125th in the nation. Funny thing is, the same percentage as Michigan, 40%.
Yeah, but I think that's with what their kicker and punter. They only have
sure.
one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's if you really dive into it, it's
but also returning production is not just starters. It's more you're looking at stats.
I got them winning. Okay,
I put them on the under. I'm just not ready to lock it.
I feel great about this. I think this is one of the best plays you could do. I think there's a decent shot that they go into the bye week, 2-5, maybe even 1-6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're talking crazy.
What do you mean?
Let me just keep it.
Northwestern won 8 games last year. Northwestern is a better team than the Washington team that they have right now.
And they're coming to Seattle.
Weber State and Eastern Michigan.
I said 2-2. Okay, that's the 2 wins. But
I thought you said 1-6 or something.
Oh, I said like potential. Eastern Michigan's got a track record of beating Big Ten teams. Ask Purdue.
Right.
Ask Illinois. Ask. So let's go. Yeah.
We're all
Can I
on
get
the
a
under.
little reprieve from being called TMZ when we got super hipster over here?
All right. Well, when Eastern
saying
Michigan,
they're gonna lose,
I'm a good middle ground.
Okay,
Listen to me.
If Patty C wants to talk about history, then you don't have to look. But just 3 seasons ago, when Washington lost at home in week 2 to a fucking FCS.
Who was that?
Montana.
Oh, Montana.
Yeah.
Oh, and the FCS national
But
champion.
Eastern Michigan is the same as they go bowling every year.
They are not the same quality as an FCS national champion. Not even in the same.
They go bowling every year.
Dude, an FCS national champion is a top 25.
I didn't win the
team.
national championship.
They didn't go bowling last year, did they?
Yeah, they did. They got waxed in the bowl game. Yeah. Michael Barker was there.
Yeah, they had to squeak out that double overtime win
I
against
will say
Akron
that
to get there.
Washington has some volatility as a program in terms of what their ceiling obviously it can be, and then just a few years weren't they like 1-11 or something a few years back? So if they really do fall off that hard, then I mean I'm taking the under. Maybe you guys are right, but I'm not ready to lock it. I feel like okay.
We'll have a conversation soon.
I think
Let's go
Patty, you're done with your locks, right? So it's all good.
No, I got one more.
Oh, what do you got?
I got UCLA on the under.
Ah, that's mine. That's mine too.
Yeah.
I got another there. I mean, this one, Deshaun Foster. The schedule,
Not a good start.
There's a reason why Chip Kelly left. First off, he left late in the year. We should talk about that because leaving late in the year, I actually think really fucking hurts your team more than you realize. And then the non-con. What are we doing here? So at Hawaii week 0 for a coach that's never been a head coach.
Jeez.
That's a more dangerous game than I think people realize. Like I think Timmy Chang's going to have Hawaii a bowl team this year. I still favor UCLA here, but if they just struggle a tiny bit, you could lose that game.
I wish the Aloha Bowl was. They should just make the Aloha Bowl active for this game because the Chin
Even
complex.
if there's an earthquake,
Yeah, whatever.
Who cares?
Let it fall down.
No one will notice. Apparently,
That's right. Natural disasters.
They get, and then one of the worst things you can get is a bye week 2. So let you get all this crazy travel, and they have a bye week 2. You should spread out your bye weeks.
Yeah, before hosting, Indiana.
I think they're going to lose that.
That's a wasted bye week. If
I
they're
think
ever,
Indiana is going to beat UCLA.
it wouldn't surprise me.
It's basically JMU against UCLA last year.
Yeah, it's true.
How the hell are they getting a 6 wins?
This is the hardest stretch in the country right here. This 3-game stretch at LSU, home to Oregon, at Penn State.
Guaranteed 3 losses.
After that, everyone on the team quit, and I guarantee you they're done by that point, dude. Like I actually think, I shit you not, I think 1-11 is in the cards. I think 1-11's in the cards.
Minnesota's possibly a loss.
I think Minnesota's a tougher team. I think they're going to lose at Rutgers.
I think they can beat Minnesota in Los Angeles.
They could, but I just think like Minnesota right now is a better team. Like Fleck is a we know he's a good coach.
That's kind of a coin flip game at this point.
Deshaun Foster's got to prove it. He was a running backs coach.
Yeah, at this point, actually, I do favor Minnesota in that game. You're right.
And then after the bye week at Nebraska, you got to favor Rule. Home to Iowa, good luck. At Washington, maybe winnable. Home to USC, loss, and then Fresno's won 5 straight against UCLA. You're telling me Fresno's not getting up to go to the Rose Bowl?
Tough timing with Tedford.
Fresno's gonna whoop their ass.
Yeah, full season.
They look at it like a Super Bowl.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
UCLA looks at it like, okay, let's go to
Fresno
next
will
season.
have a whole season to adjust to the new coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna, dude. There's no way they're hitting the over. Nick,
They'd have
you're
to
not
get to
locking this.
6,
No,
yeah.
I'm gonna join you guys too. Again, I hate to be an echo chamber here, but the more I look at the schedule and what you say looks like, I'm right there with you. You got to.
Dude, if they get upset by Hawaii week 1, which is a big if. I think they'll beat Hawaii. 0-12 is on the table. 0-12 is on the table. But triple lock. Let's go. UCLA under.
Well, they're 10 minutes from the studio here, so tickets should be pretty cheap.
That's my 7. I have one more fringe lock, but I'm not going to go there. Nick, do you have anything else?
No, that's it for me.
I have one fringe. If you want, I can just say it. I'm not going to actually lock it up, though.
Yeah, what you got?
I think Minnesota is going to be a bowl team. And I think the win total at 5 or 5.5, shop around, is disrespectful. I think they're going to beat North Carolina in the opener. I think they will beat Rhode Island and Nevada after that. I think they'll be 3-0 with Iowa coming to town. Now, Iowa historically beats Minnesota, so I'm not going to give them that win. But I do think they beat UCLA, which will be a 4th win before the first bye week. And then this is the best stretch right here. Maryland in Huntington Bank in Minneapolis, then at Illinois and at Rutgers. I think they could win, 2 of those. And then I have them upsetting Penn State on November 23rd, but I also think at Wisconsin's winnable. So I just think PJ Fleck he's almost like Matt Campbell, where like when they're not supposed to be good, they'll be better than what you think. So like when USC comes there on October 5th, or Penn State there on November 23rd, I almost like guarantee that they win one of those games.
Wow.
Over was my lean as well, so I like it.
I just think they'll be a bowl team. Like they're like Fleck will, when the cards are down is when he does his best.
Well, I'll say this: between North Carolina coming to town, Iowa coming to town, USC and Penn State coming to town, I bet they get at least one. I
think you can get 2 of those.
Maybe
North Carolina and them are like a wash to me.
Yeah, a little bit. In Minneapolis, probably a wash. Yeah. Overall, I am going with the over. It's close to a lock, but I'm not going there.
I just feel like Fleck will go bowling.
He deserves it. I mean, I feel like, exactly. When the expectations are high, doesn't do as well. Quarterback situation in at Minnesota.
They bring in Max Brosmer, a veteran from the FCS who's really good. Won the best player in the FCS award.
All right, that usually bodes pretty well.
Let's talk Big Ten championship. Is it chalk? Oregon and Ohio State?
Yeah.
I actually think Iowa has a chance with the tiebreaker, and USC as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So you definitely have Ohio State beating Michigan, Petty C.
I don't definitely have that, but if I had to predict right now, then I do have Ohio State beating Michigan.
Me too.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I have Ohio State. Their 1 loss is at Oregon. I think everybody's kind of penciling that in. And I'm gonna say Oregon drops 1 either at Michigan or maybe at Wisconsin or something crazy like that. And they're probably the only 2 teams that have only 1 loss in conference. I do think. Go ahead.
I still think it's possible Oregon loses 2 games there, and that fucks them out of the Big Ten championship. Like if they lose to Ohio State, remember that's a revenge game. They had this on the schedule before they even joined the Big Ten. They won at the Horseshoe. So that is a revenge game there. If they lose that game to Ohio State, they still have at Michigan and at Wisconsin.
Yeah, you'd almost
could
rather
play themselves out of the Big Ten championship with those games.
Yeah, you'd almost rather have Ohio State on the road and just chalk that up as a loss, and then beat Michigan at home.
And that gives you hope that Iowa or USC sneaks in there. We just went to USC's and we were like, what? We got them with 1 loss.
Yeah, in conference.
Which they're plus 2,200 to win the Big Ten. USC is. I mean, this kind of shows you like Ohio State plus 155, Oregon plus 200. Pick your poison there. I tend to think it's going to be Ohio State, but
plus 2,200 is insane value there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 2-loss teams in conference are going to be Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, and USC. Maybe somebody else like Rutgers or something.
2 conference 2
conference losses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like USC could easily find themselves in this game, but I still think like.
Do you have Ohio State and Oregon as 2 conference losses?
Well, Oregon I think could certainly
potentially 2 conference losses.
Well, I have them only as 1 conference loss.
Yeah,
me too. But I think Oregon's much more likely with that travel than Ohio State is.
Ohio State's quarterback situation worries me.
I agree. I think Oregon's like a more complete team, but the travel.
I'm more confident in Oregon than I am Ohio State.
From a roster standpoint, I would agree with you. I think Oregon has a harder schedule than Ohio State.
Okay.
Well, then maybe take the Oregon plus 200. I mean, it's not like it's great odds to win it, but
I mean, if I'm predicting the conference championship, I do think it'll be Oregon, Ohio State. If I wanted value, I think what you said USC 2,200. What is the value on Iowa?
To win it, see, that's a problem. Iowa's not going to win it.
Iowa's not going to win it. Yeah.
It's then plus USC 4,000.
USC could win that game though.
Yeah.
If USC got in there.
If Miller Moss is chucking the ball around the field.
I still think, this is the chalkiest conference in college football.
It really is.
So I think
I wish I could do something risque and throw in Nebraska or something, but I'm not going to do it.
Rutgers. What about Penn State? Are we completely? It doesn't.
Actually, wait. Did I not give out that?
I don't think
I have one more lock. Penn State under.
What's that at now? 10.5? Is that or
10.5? This ain't happening.
I'm on the under too.
Alert. I will lock up that under.
You're locking it, Nick?
No, I'm not locking it, but I'm on the under.
Yeah, me too.
This is happening. They're going to lose at Minnesota, and they're going to lose to Ohio State because Ohio State beats them every year. They could also lose at USC. They could also lose at Wisconsin, and I think they might lose the opener at West Virginia. Get this shit out of here.
It is lock-worthy.
Yeah, lock that up. 2 losses is happening. I guarantee you this is happening.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the problem is the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, they were 10-2 both years, with only losing to Ohio State and Michigan both years.
But they were getting. Who'd they play in the non-con 2 years ago? I know last year they were home to West Virginia.
Didn't they have LSU a couple of years? That's probably more than that. They beat Auburn at Auburn 2 years ago.
Yeah, right, that was a really crazy year.
Let's be fair about James Franklin. He wins the games he's supposed to win. He loses the games he's supposed to lose. What games is he supposed to win? And more importantly, what games is he supposed to lose?
I would say he's supposed to lose at USC and home to Ohio State.
And now, the number's 10.5. That's a very high number for Penn State.
It is heavily juiced on the under, though, minus 165.
There's not a lot of value.
Dude, I even think you look for the exact win and do 9-3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I in front of me.
Ultimately, I think they are a 9-3 team. I think Michigan's either 9-3, maybe 8-4. I think USC is kind of the same boat. So for me, college football playoff, I only have 3 from the Big Ten, and it is Ohio State, Oregon, and Iowa.
Wait, what is he talking about? 20 MC. No, it's 10.5 on DK right now. Didn't I just look at that?
Yeah, exactly.
But under 9.5 is plus 140 for Penn State. I think that's a great play.
Interesting.
9.5.
Yeah.
We said, we only said 2 games that they're supposed to lose.
But dude, they like at Wisconsin and at West Virginia.
That's not a very. It's a very small possibility that they lose both of them. I would say a 50-50 odds that they lose one of them.
And that's not even including at Minnesota on the 23rd. I think they could go 7-5, dude. You know what I mean?
That would be it. No, I don't think so.
I don't think they will, because that's them losing like every 50-50 game. But
I'd say 8-4 is the floor for this team.
I think they are a 9-3 football team. There's too many tough road spots.
I'd say 10-2 is probably the ceiling, and maybe 11-1 if everything broke right. And that would be the over.
But they only get one of those games at home, dude. Like I'm saying, like the road spots.
75% chance this is on the under here.
Yeah, I feel I'm locking that up. Give me that under. I'll play that plus 140 under 9.5.
All right, maybe I jumped the gun and gave out my college football playoff. Is there another ad read first?
No, we're good.
So I only had 3 from the Big Ten. I had 4 from the SEC. Do you guys have anything juicy, anything spicy than the 3 I mentioned?
Do you have Iowa in the playoffs? Because I do.
Yeah. I have Ohio State, Oregon, and Iowa. And Iowa again plus 600.
No Michigan
playoffs. No Michigan. Again, I have Michigan at either 8-4 or 9-3.
I got them at 9-3, I think. But my point is how do you leave out the defending national championship? You think the committee's going to do that?
Are they the defending? They're the defending champion, just like Washington's the defending runner-up.
But they're also a huge TV draw.
Yeah.
They still have a lot of recognizable faces.
I don't think they can keep Iowa out if they're 10-2. So I think Iowa's in. The question is though, the question is like, does the Big Ten and ACC have Are they only getting one in?
The Big 12 and ACC. Yeah,
What did I say?
yeah,
Big
10.
Yeah,
That's a huge thing. Yeah, because if you have the SEC and Big 10 getting 4 each,
I don't think that's. I think they get 7 between the two of them.
I don't know. It's gonna be one or the other. I think. It could go either way.
My point is though is like a lot of people just are assuming like ACC and Big 12 will get 1, but I can guarantee like the season's got to play out. We don't know what if Utah is sitting there, 11-1, and they make the championship game, and lose to Kansas State, who's 9-3. Kansas State's got the auto bid. You're going to keep out Utah? No way with 1 loss. You know what I mean? Or 2 losses.
All right, so let's map it out. You have your group of 5 that takes up one of the 12. Then you have 11 spots. You have your 4 conference champions, so you're down to 7.
Yeah,
and then
Notre Dame's the wild card.
Notre Dame is probably in.
Yeah,
so that's down to 6.
Well, gosh, they could lose more now with that left tackle, but
and then you're going to have 2 SEC, 2 Big 10, which puts 3 total there, and then God, now I'm.
Wait, so if Notre Dame's in, how many teams is it?
If they're, let's just nix the conference champions. We'll say Notre Dame and a group of 5 get in, right? So there's only 10 spots, right?
4-4-1-1.
No way. It's going to be 4-3-2-1. I don't know.
I hope you're right, but I'm afraid that it's not going to be.
Unless the ACC is given credit for Notre Dame, but I don't think that'll happen. I think between the ACC and the Big 12, they'll get a third.
I'm just saying, like, yes, in theory, I'm with Nick's thinking like that's the ideal thing they would want, but you're not gonna be able to keep out if Utah loses to this is a hypothetical, obviously, but I'm saying if they lose to Kansas State or let's say Florida State or let's say Miami goes 11-1 but loses to Louisville in the ACC championship. They're not going to be able to say
no.
They
for
have
a
to
9-3 team.
They have to go in.
Yeah.
Why yet? Why they can't leave them out? I mean, they just left out 12-0 Florida State, 13-0 Florida State.
Dude, but 9-3.
And
that's a big gap.
An absolute uproar.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not 9-3. Maybe it's 10-2.
Even still, for one power conference to have put a team in with another loss that another power conference team doesn't have, an 11-1 Miami team versus like a 10-2.
That just happened last year.
I know, and it was an anomaly that had never happened before. It was a precedent that had just been set. Do we expect that to become the norm? No, I don't think so. I think that remains a bit of a
I
small
think you're naive about who the biggest power players are in college
I know
football.
who they are. It would just
the
be crazy.
SEC and the Big 10.
Look, I've always been surprised continuously how much power they have. So maybe you're right.
Either way, though, if we have Michigan as a 3-loss team, my point is that would then kick Michigan out, and they wouldn't even be up for debate because you would have to put Utah or Miami in.
I agree that if there's a 2-loss gap, then it would be really hard.
Then it'll never happen.
Yeah,
as long as
that's I think then that's probably gonna. I could see that happening in one of those, either the ACC or the Big 12 this year.
But if they're only getting one in each, there's going to be a push by. They're going to want to keep those conferences happy a little bit. They're not going to want to put 4 SEC, 4 Big 10, and 1. Those conferences will be furious. That can't be the norm.
The SEC and the Big 10 aren't greedy whatsoever.
Folks, we all 3 have Ohio State, Oregon in the Big 10 championship. So nothing juicy there, but hopefully you liked our locks, and this will continue next Monday. All right, this series will then jump over to Monday, where we will talk about the not the AAC, the ACC, the Atlantic Coast or the All Coast Conference. I can't get anything right these days. So and the Mountain West. We're going to talk the Mountain West next Monday as well. So get on over there, subscribe, youtube.com/The College Experience. Remember, we're previewing all 134 college football teams in the land, solo podcast for every single team in the land. Also, make sure you jump over to check out all of our other stuff. The Stadium Heads podcast, myself at College Football Campus Tour, aka Michael Barker, breaking down all the college football stadiums in really America, but yeah, basically explaining why college football is the greatest thing ever. Check out that. Check out the FCS college football experience. Don't forget to check out the college basketball experience. Man, I did it. I was a guest on a college basketball show the other day. Season's coming faster than we know it as well. Also check out the college baseball experience. All of that is our hub, youtube.com/the college experience. So get on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. Also 5-star review on iTunes. What's it going to take? Takes 2 minutes out of your day, folks. I've done 20 goddamn shows in the past 40 hours. All right. Let's go. Get on over there. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Also give, like I said, Patty C's on Twitter, Patty C831, NC Nick's on Twitter, NC__NICK. Go check his best ball draft. NC Nick just did too. YouTube.com/the college experience yet again. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The college football experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Till next time, folks, this is the college football experience. Big 10, Big 18, whatever the fuck. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.